Good afternoon, Ji. Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to check if I am audible to everyone.
Yes, you are.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So we'll wait just for 1 minute more and then we'll start. Uh, it would be really helpful if you all keep your uh, mics mute and because we'll have a question and answer interaction at the end of the session.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
एक महीना कैंसिल होने से पहले वो एमर्जी स्पोर्ट्स की चीज होनी चाहिए।
ठीक है। हाँ हाँ सब ठीक है।
Kindly अपने mics mute कर दीजिए if you could mute your mic. Thank you so much, Ji. बहुत शुक्रिया. For those who have joined so far and people are still joining in, the number is increasing. So we are grateful to everyone who has taken the time out to join this session. By way of introduction, my name is Usman Kirmani. I am leading the IPA fund component, which is the comparative grants component under USAID Investment Promotion Activity. Within this 2 hours long, I would say the orientation session, I'll be taking you through the silent features of the new grants round that we have just launched. It's really good to see the response that we have been getting in all orientation session, all the in-person sessions as well, and also on the email address that we have shared so far. So just to share with you some housekeeping rules before we begin the session. So within the this session, I'll be sharing it with you the overall idea about how you can improve upon your grant applications. What are the commonalities of the ones who had received the grants? And you can perhaps follow on those commonalities that would perhaps would improve the quality of your grant application. इसी तरीके से so what are the no's that we have that we would suggest you to refrain from those, and we'll have a question and answer session in the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to write those on the chat box, and also we'll have an interactive session in the end. So my colleague will be helping me out for those questions as well with you. So without any further ado, and the overall information that I would be sharing it with you today is actually coming from the request for application document. If you haven't yet received the RFA document, I would strongly urge you to just send out an email to ipafund@pakistanipa.com. You will receive a request for application guidance along with 3 annexures. Annex A is the grant application annex that I'll also be sharing it with you in detail, Annex B, and there is a third annexure to it as well. So USAID Investment Promotion Activity, that is a 5 years project funded by USAID, and we are implementing it as one of the implementing partners of USAID. We work in 3 different components. We have got a dedicated team, a component that works with the government. Those of you who are already part of, who have got some engagement with the government would know that there has been procurement embargoes on getting services. So we provide best of the best services technical assistance in order to help government regulatory authorities to reform and would have a trickle down impact on the FDI and also on the US Pakistan trade as well. We have got a second component that is known as investment promotion US Pakistan bilateral trade. Uh, Through this component, we do matchmaking of investment ready companies with and also US based buyer US based trade ready companies, and we connect them with the international investors or the US based buyers. So that's again a separate component. We have got a separate team working on those areas as well. So and the third component that I'm leading on is IPA fund, which is highly competitive grants program. And as I say, it's highly competitive because it's a grants program. It's open for all geographies in Pakistan. And we provide competitive grants for the private sector entities, such as of yourself, so that you can uh, y- complete the, you can achieve the investor's conditions in order to close the investment deal that you are in. And also to for the ones who are doing trade, we have got a separate trade program as well. I'll be explaining all of the programs to you today so that they can enhance on US-Pakistan bilateral trade side as well. So just to give you an overview of the USAID IPA grants program, so all of the overall uh, assistance program that we have set aside 3.3 million US dollar for the IPA fund to be dispersed through these competitive grants, such as this third round of FDI, which is open now for applications. It's a 5 years project, and we are currently in year 4 of this project. So we do 2 rounds each year. And we have got 4 priority sectors, which includes ICT as a sector itself as well, and also the tech startups who are emerging tech startups, uh, such as AI, fintech, health tech, agri-tech, climate tech. Uh, Agribusiness and processing is also one of the areas which holds a lot of promise for FDI. Manufacturing is again a very wide sector. So it includes every sort of manufacturing, uh, be that in textile or in any sort of manufacturing product that you are doing. It could be cosmetics, it could be leather goods, it could be surgical items maybe. And also tourism and hospitality, because it has been one of the sector which is hit many times by the post-COVID crisis and then the floods, and also because of the conflict in the North region, especially in KP. But this is one of the sector that holds a lot of promise for FDI. We were in GB in the last week of October, और हमने वहाँ पे देखा कि we had one potential grant applicant who owns a hotel, and one of a Canadian GB-based overseas Pakistani was investing into that hotel. So I'll be sharing it with you what entails, who is the investor that we are looking for to support you to uh, capitalize on that deal. But before I proceed on that front, I would like to say that since this ask is tough, because in the current macros, we are asking about having an investment deal stage company to get foreign direct investment. It is not an easy ask. Therefore, any business, any enterprise, uh, if they are not being able to align themselves with these 4 priority sectors, and they consider themselves in another sector, let's suppose minerals maybe. So any any business that has got the capacity to raise international investment, and they consider themselves as a deal stage company, they are all allowed to apply for this grants program. So if we have got a very sector agnostic approach in terms of the sectors that we are talking for the fund. So we have got some IPA fund impact. So and also, so there are some core impact uh, through this IPA fund we want to leverage. PSI is local investment, and that is the grantee's skin in the game, and also third-party investment that helps you achieve your FDI goals. So the core impact is to leverage PSI, local investment, to increase foreign direct investment. The other core impact is to increase US-Pakistan bilateral trade. There are some ancillary impact or the indirect impacts as well. That includes technology transfer. A lot of technology is being transferred when your company is being scaled into uh, new horizon maybe, and maybe you're working completely manual and your investor wants you to comply with this condition that you need to upscale your business, get more technology included. So a lot of technology actually transfers when you scale your business from one step to another. We give a lot of influence and emphasis to gender, youth, and social inclusion. We also encourage it in our calls. We have got a special merit review criteria that has got some 5 brownie points that I'll be sharing it with you to encourage women-led and youth-led businesses. We do a lot of advocacy. You might have seen across the USAID social media pages as well. So there's a very common mantra in the development sector that do good and tell others about it. So we try to amplify your successes to a scale that you also get a lot of audience attention and it reaches to the businesses who are also most deserving uh, to take part into it, and it all increases the competitiveness. So we have a special orientation for the grantees on ESG and GLI, the new principles as well. We have got a lot of success stories to tell on that front. On the other side of the slide, you would see a small box. So this is a this was this is what I say a secret recipe for the grants program. You would because we have been noticing there are a few applicants के जिनकी grant application click हो जाती है and they get the awards, but at the same time there are others who take a lot of time to complete the grant application, but unfortunately they do not succeed. So what's that X factor that makes a grantee successful? Is that they're able to align to what the donor uh, has their objectives. So we need to see कि अगर USAID ये आपको grant opportunity through investment promotion activity offer कर रहा है, so what are the key impacts? What are the key targets that USAID have? So इसमें आप ये देखेंगे कि 40 million worth of US-Pakistan bilateral trade has to be increased with this assistance program through grants and through other programs that we have under IPA. We want to mobilize local investment worth of 25 million US dollar that could have a $75 million worth of FDI triggered. And also, we want to increase interactions between investments, investors and investment ready companies. So how does it work? So for instance, if from today's orientation session, if it translates into 50 grant applications, and the one who have got a higher score, maybe they would be raising some 5 million US dollar maybe, or 500,000 US dollar. So their raise, which is being achieved through in support of the grants program, so that is being then reported to these figures. So actually, that's how you contribute towards the overall results that we want to achieve. So whenever you work on your grant application, you need to see how better are you aligned with these three indicators. Especially for FDI grants, we have got a focus for FDI. And if we have other grants programs such as US-Pakistan trade, the focus would be on US-Pakistan trade. So I just wanted to give you a small introduction about all of the funding streams, but we will then deep dive into FDI grants. That is talk of the hour. So we have got a tech transfer grants program that is a smaller in size, up to 10,000 US dollar equivalent of PKR. Through this, we want to achieve the um, uh, ach- we want to help Pakistani entrepreneurs who are working in US-Pakistan trade space to help them remove barriers of US trade, because those of amongst us who are into trade business, they would know that there are a lot of stringent uh, st- standard compliance requirements for to have a better trade with US. So this tech transfer grants actually helps them to remove those barriers, and they would have a gateway to US trade. FDI grants, we buy down risk of a Pakistani firm through this grant with a ticket size of 100,000 US dollar. I'll be sharing more details about the ceilings as well. And through FDI grants, we aim to help your investment deal stage gets to a maturity level. And when we say to a maturity level, this means we do not expect you to have a flow of funds within the span of 6 to 8 months of the grant implementation that you would be doing if awarded. But the idea is that your investors' conditions are met during the implementation of that grants program. And you you close your investors contract or a term sheet, maybe you get that signed with your investor. That would be the output of the FDI grants. So I'll be sharing more details. And whenever we say about FDI, so FDI could come from any part of world. So it's not that we are just fixated towards US based investors only. It could come from any part of the world. It could include angel investors. It could include uh, the VCs as well. It could include international DFIs. It could include international debt that you are raising for your company. And also it could include any overseas Pakistani who happens to be investing into Pakistan, into your venture. If he is based out of US maybe, or UK or Canada or Saudi maybe, or Gulf. So they are also considered as investors, and you would be considered as a deal stage company and can surely apply for the grant. Under USPT, US Pakistan Trade Grant, this is again um, a US Pakistan trade related grant with a ticket size of 100,000 US dollar. This is not live now. And through this, we aim to achieve and increase the US Pakistan trade capacity. So a trade should happen between the two countries because it's a bilateral trade program. And for FDI, we are open in terms of the investors that could come from any part of the world. Green Alliance Gaming Challenge Award, we had awarded a few grants for the gaming industry as well, because we got to know it is such an amazing sector that have added a lot of revenue to Pakistan and quite unheard of. And through this, because youth uh, are the ones who mostly play the games, and we wanted to induce the a behavioral change towards the climate as well. So, as I had shared with you, we are currently progressing in year 4 of the project. We have got a few successes to share with you as well. And within this slide, I'll also be sharing it with you. What were the commonalities of the ones who had received the grant? And if you follow the steps of those who had received the grants, probably you would also have a better chance in the highly competitive grants program that we have. So we have effectively concluded 5 rounds, and this is the 6th round of the grant solicitation. We have oriented 54 pre-application orientation session that has actually been increased to 60 now. And we have oriented more than 4,500 entrepreneurs with close to 900 female entrepreneurs as well. In terms of deliverables, we have awarded 32 grants so far. Of those, 9 are being awarded under FDI grants program. And if I share it with you that what were the commonalities of those who have received the grants, if I on the bird's eye view level, if I just classify them into two categories, two broad categories. So A is that they were being able to convince evaluators about their investment deal stage. So they had provided substantial information that could help evaluators get convinced that they are in a legit deal stage, and the deal stage is in a very good, uh, I would say, timeline as well, and the probability and the US dollar value for sure of completion of that deal stage. The other aspect, the other common aspect that we had figured out in amongst the 9 FDI grants that we have awarded is that they have been able uh, to make a clear causal relationship with uh, with the investor conditions and the activities that they had planned to implement. So उनका जितने भी grant budget था, it had a very clear causal relationship meeting investor condition. W- the investor conditions could be to have to have a holdco in UAE maybe that may also cost a lot. So you can budget that. Investor conditions may include some marketing. It could may include an additional technology stack that needs to be developed. Or the investor's condition may also include having an investment advisory service. Those of you who are raising investments would know that there are some really good investment advisory services abroad who have got a fee structure and they've got an initial fee as well, which is not cheap. So you can budget those kind of activities within the FDI grants budget. So A, they have been able to convince evaluators very well on their investment deal stage. And B is they had a very clear causal relationship between the activities that they had budgeted that were on target to meet the conditions from investors. Then we have other US Pakistan trade related grants as well. And also 4 of them were awarded to the gaming studios within Pakistan. In terms of results, so these 32 grants collectively have mobilized 7.4 million worth of local investment. That includes grantees' skin in the game, their own equity, or any third party uh, investment, local investment that they had raised in order to complete the grant implementation, along with the USAID part of the funds that they were being awarded. So there is no minimum or maximum threshold. This is one of the questions that being asked very frequently. What would be the minimum? What should be the minimum PSI for an FDI? So there is no such thresholds. It's not a matching grant. It's not a cost share based grant, but we encourage grantees' own participation in the journey of the grant implementation as well. That creates a lot of ownership and credibility. So for the FDI, so the ones that are being awarded have raised 6.4 million US dollar worth of FDI so far. There is approximately from 18 to 30 million FDI in the pipeline because these grantees are in due diligences with their investors and haven't yet announced them as their investor or the deal is not closed yet, but they are in advanced stages. We get some questions like this कि अगर किसी ने 5 मिलियन या 10 मिलियन रेस करना है तो उसके लिए अप टू 100,000 US डॉलर की ग्रांट का क्या फायदा होगा. The answer to this question A is it do provide you with some of the financial runways. It buys down the risk of your expansion, जो आपकी expansion है, that it uh, because you would be at risk to follow the conditions set forth by investor, but most importantly, it creates a lot of credibility and confidence for international investors because when they would see that USAID is also uh, participating, making you as a partner for the grants program, you have effectively passed through the due diligences, it surely adds a lot of credibility because whenever we meet with an international investor, they would say they would look for hot market. So Pakistan is a hot market because fifth largest, biggest in population. We have got a lot of distribution of customers, but they would also look for reliable founders because these are the founders that they actually invest in. So having passed through the due diligences, it creates a lot of credibility. In US-Pakistan trade, for the ones that we have awarded so far, we have achieved 40 million worth of incremental US trade at a time when the US trade post-COVID had already faced decline for 16%, but these grants had effectively uh, achieved the US-based buyer conditions, and we have also increased interactions with both US-based buyers and investors as well. So now we deep dive more into the FDI grants. So the idea behind FDI grants is to leverage a successful deal. So as I said, that you need to uh, gear up in a way that when you meet the investor conditions, the investor's agreement is closed or is executed. इसी तरीके से if you are doing some term sheet maybe, so that term sheet's condition needs to be completed through this FDI grant. This is the overall crux of the FDI grants that we have. It also catalyzes the opportunity of your matchmaking with your investors. So you have to find you have to get to a deal stage, and a deal stage could be as informal as a WhatsApp chat maybe with an investor. It could be as formal as an expressed interest in the form of LOI or some emails exchanges that you may want to share or some conditional term sheet maybe. So we had received in the first round, I still remember we had received a conditional term sheet from one of the UK-based VCs for their portfolio startups, for a potential portfolio startups, that if they pass through the competition, if they get the grant, we would be happy to invest up to 1 million into them. So that's how the deal stage would work. It could be uh, as simple as a simple correspondence between you and the investor. It could be as formal as a conditional team term sheet as well. It also does increase your competitiveness, your productivity, because you are scaling up to a next level. In award information, so as long as the eligibility is concerned, it is for small, medium-sized enterprise, SMEs, startups who are raising investments into different series of investments as well. We have pre-series A, B, and C, and seed series as well. The award value is up to 100,000 US dollar, which should be equivalent of PKR. So whenever you are filling the budget and it's per grant, per organization, it has got a ceiling that I'll be sharing it with you in the next slide. But you need to make sure that whenever you are budgeting your grant, be reasonable in your ask. People at times would say कि अगर 100,000 US डॉलर तक की पूरी ग्रांट ना मांगी तो ये हमें ग्रांट नहीं देंगे, ऐसा नहीं है. Be reasonable in your ask. So and also you don't need to unnecessarily inflate your budget, and uh, don't be too much conservative that the evaluators may think कि इतने कम budget में ये achieve नहीं हो पाएगा. The grants period and whenever you're filling your grant budget, you need to fill it in PKR. The grants will be dispersed into PKR. So you can select today's PKR rate or the day when you are filling the grant application. But when we are in negotiation stages with you, we will be able to upscale or update that for the lines who are getting an impact because of the foreign exchange rate. So the grant period is up to 8 months. Ideally, it should be completed in 6 months to 8 months period. So within this time, you are implementing investors' condition in order to close that deal. Uh, so in terms of geographic coverage, we don't have any specific quota or preference to any geography. It's open for all over Pakistan. Award application submission deadline is December 8th, 11 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. It's all electronic submissions. So IPA fund at pakistanipa.com is the email address. If you want to get the RFA and the grants template, all it takes to just send out an email to IPFund at pakistanipa.com. You will get an auto response with all of the information that I'm sharing it with you right now. So you need to submit your grant application package along with all of the annexures and supporting documentation online. We don't have a PO box. We don't have any qualified consultants. We don't do hand holding on the grant application processes. But we stand by for your support if you have got any query about the grant applications, about your eligibility. Even if those questions are not answered in today's session, feel free to send us an email. We have got a very competent team working behind the scene to help you getting you answers to your queries. There are some grant amount ceilings as well for the FDI grant. So if you are aspiring to raise from 500,000 up to 1 million, you will be eligible for up to 50,000 worth of $50,000 worth of a grant. If you are raising through this FDI grant over 1 million till 3 million US dollar, you will have an opportunity to avail the grants up to 70,000 US dollar. And if you are raising investments over and above 3 million, then you will have an opportunity to avail the full amount of grant, that is 100,000 US dollar in PKR. This is the overall grant cycle. I want to brief it very quickly because whenever you would be asking about a query about that in which stage your grant application is. So you will have a sense of what's happening now with my grant application, in which stage it would be. So we have advertised the call and it is valid till 8th of December. We have this optional pre-application orientation session such as of now happening right now. We have got one in Peshawar next week as well. These are completely optional. The significance of attending this pre-application orientation session is as such that we have found that the ones who have received the grants, 70% of the ones who have received the grants, they are participated in one of these orientation sessions. It doesn't guarantee that you will get the award if you have participated in this session, but it could provide you more guidance in a way that your grant application gets improved in its presentation. Then come December 8, you submit your grant application. Then we have an evaluation stage of your grant application. So neither myself nor the facilitators of this call today are the technical evaluators of your grant applications. We have got a dedicated team, uh, at least 3 members committee who have got their own experience of running business, of raising investments, of doing exits, of failures as well, and also from your specific sectors. So we have got one business analyst who actually looks at the overall business viability, your competition landscape of your grant application, the content that you have provided into it. We have got an investment reviewer who looks for the investment and deal stage analysis. How closer are you in order to close that deal? how serious does the investor looks, how better are you aligning with investors' condition. So this is something that would be evaluated by the investment reviewer. Uh, and and since we have got a variety of sectors, we have got hospitality. It's pretty much sector agnostic though, but we have got four priority sectors, and it's open for all kind of sectors. So we have got a roster of a roster of the overall technical experts who help us in doing the technical evaluation of the specific sector that you belong to. So all of these three evaluators, they evaluate your grant application based on the evaluation criteria that I'll be sharing it with you shortly. And they rank each and every grant application according to them, according to that criteria. So we do not directly say yay or nay to any grant application. लेकिन ये है कि we rank them all. And the highest of them would then be asked for a pitch session. So they would be invited uh, for an in-person presentation about the grant application. It actually gives founders as with an opportunity to provide more information that about their journey, about their business journey, about their overall successes in their businesses as well. And it also gives an opportunity to evaluators to ask the, their questions that would have arisen during the course of evaluation. If you have succeeded your pitch session as well, then you will be invited to pre-award risk assessment. So the shortlisted ones from the pitch sessions are then selected for the due diligence, and a team from our office they would visit your location, and they would see and uh, they would assess if your claims in your grant application are right, and if you will be able to spend the amount of grant money in a way that is complied with the US government's regulations as well. And you will be able to achieve what you have planned for. Then we do engage with you for the grants negotiation phase. In the grants negotiation phase, you would be, so we will set at least 2 or 5 performance-based deliverables that would be mutually agreed between us. And whenever you achieve those deliverables, we will be reimbursing you the cost of that specific milestone. So there are no advances, but what we actually do is that we keep the first milestone administratively more important but less capital intensive, so that your cash flow within the span of 6 to 8 months also is maintained. We are we also need to comply with the U.S. Embassy's vetting requirements. So if an award value is over and above 25,000, we send your details to U.S. Embassy for vetting. When we get the vetting, we record all of the journey from the day of your submission of your grant application till your negotiation phases, and we then uh, uh, submitted for an award to USAID mission. If your grant is being awarded, then your implementation gets starts. You are set on autopilot in a way that you deliver the milestones, the performance-based milestones that we have mutually agreed on. And then we reimburse you the cost of those milestones. And we also have to comply with the tax instructions. So we'll be, unless if you have got an exemption, a written exemption on withholding tax, we would also be deducting withholding tax as per the government laws. So when the grant award is being completed, this is the time, during this time, you need to comply with the investor conditions in a way that your investor's contract or your term sheet is being executed, and the funds flow would come after the award. So our teams, our monitoring and evaluation team, would be reaching you out 2 years post grant award to get the numbers which would be then uh, reported for the overall 75 million worth of FDI that we want to achieve through these grants. So in terms of timeline, solicitation is valid until 8th of December, since we need to give individual attention to each and every grant application. Uh, uh, it's grants program, no strings attached. There is no paybacks from you, but we have got a very stringent, I would say, data quality assessment and the overall performance audits on our parts as well. So we need to comply with all of the formalities and to give an individual attention to all of the applications that we receive. It takes time because of the quantum of grant applications. So you need to be mindful of a fact that if you want to start your activity, you need to assume that you would start it. If you are awarded with a grant, you would start your implementation by March or April 2025. In terms of eligibility, legally registered, small and medium-sized enterprises, startups, they are all included in eligibility. So you need to have some sort of a of legal registration. So within the RFA, you would see a term firm. We know that we have got a firm's registration, a separate legal vehicle for companies as well, but any sort of legal registration. So if you want to have an NTN with a business name on your NTN, that is also considered as sole proprietor. If you have an incorporated company with SECP, you can do that. Even if you have got a partnership, if you want to do a joint venture with two or more organizations, if you want to come in a consortium, you can even do that, but you should have a teaming agreement ahead of it. So any sort of legal registration, the company has to be a Pakistani legally registered company. The founders may be, one of the founders may be a dual national as well. This is also one of the questions that we keep on getting. But as far as the company is concerned, that needs to be Pakistani registered company. So firms should also have their investment deal stage. Uh, if it's in early stage, be that in early stage or a later stage, but they should have at least an investment deal stage if they are applying. I'll skip uh, some other parts that I've already covered. In terms of ineligible organizations, applicants who fail to provide their documentary evidences or an incomplete grant application package would be considered as ineligible. We receive really good quality applications at times, but those are incomplete. So we actually had to mark them as ineligible. They would miss to attach either one of the annexes or one of the supporting documents uh, that we have guided you to attach. So I'll be sharing it with you. We have included a checklist of the documentation that you need to be make sure whenever you are applying for the grant. If your company, if your business is not registered or you are in process of registration, you will be not eligible for application. Any entity that has been found to have misused USAID funds in the past, those would also be considered as ineligible organization. Any organization that refuses to sign any of the required certifications, so those certifications are related to that you actually certify that you do not belong to any barred organization, you don't your organization is not involved any sort of terrorism or any drug trafficking or human trafficking maybe. And we also look for any if there is any perceived or an actual conflict of interest, those are also considered as ineligible. We have an evaluation criteria that is included in the RFA document. We have explained it very well over there as well. And the grant application is designed as such that it would answer one of these, uh, it would answer all of these, I would say, uh, sections within the merit review criteria. that we are looking for. You would see that we have got highest score in 75 for the economic growth. So this is a deal breaker or deal maker of, generally speaking, of a grant applicant. So in the first one that has got a 40 score, which is foreign direct investment, that is your ability to materialize international investment. So in this, so you need to include what is your positioning in a way that an FDI deal would get matured uh, in favor of your organization. What is your potential for that deal stage that you are in already? At the same time, what we have observed so far, that people would build a case about an FDI capacity of overall Pakistan, but they would miss what is their share in it, what is their specific FDI potential, because this FDI grant will be awarded to your specific organization in order to help you buy down those investors' condition. So you need to be very specific, and you need to be uh, providing really good information that is convincing enough that why this investment is happening in the favor of your organization. What are your competitive edges, maybe, or why there is an inclination of that investor? So you need to have a very convincing kind of explanation around it. In terms of the expected deal maturity timelines, you need to share, because you would be achieving investors' condition within 6 to 8 months of the award. So evaluators needs to assess that how closer are you in order to close that deal. For the deal closure, we considered a signed and executed investor contract, or executed term sheet that would sub substantiate the fact that the deal is being closed. So that's a time that when generally founders would also publicize about the deal that is being closed. And also your potential to leverage PSI. So PSI, private sector investment, includes local investments. That is your skin in the game in terms of your own contribution, your own equity, and also uh, if you have any loans from the bank, maybe any sort of cash lines or any friends and family support, or a third party investment that would be helping you achieve those investors condition alongside with the grant, those are all considered as local investments. So there is no minimum or maximum threshold in it. We have seen applications where PSI was in millions, but FDI was very small. They couldn't succeed. We have seen where the PSI, private sector investment, grantees contribution, was not that big comparatively to others, but they had more promising FDI deal and the deals to be closed, and they won the competition. So there's no minimum or maximum in the PSI. In terms of the potential deal that you are getting. So if you have raised any sort of investments, uh, if you have raised any investments previously, there are organizations who have raised international investments. They could have run the pre-seed or seed rounds, maybe. So if you have some kind of proof that you can also furnish, that would help you achieve part of this 15 score. We don't ask you to provide us with a bank statement that the funds have been hit into your account. All we need is to have a contract, an executed contract that you would have previously with any of the investor, be that an individual investor or a large VC maybe. In terms of budget and operational strength, so we ask you to be mindful of the accuracy, completeness, and reasonability of the budget as well. Especially for the IT related developments, the costs may vary wildly. There would be apps um, uh, who would have a quote of 50,000 PKR, and the same level of app maybe would have a code of 50 million PKR as well. So if you are working on the tech side, you need to be very uh, uh, mindful of this reason that you need to have a competitive, that you need to give us a good reasonability of the cost as well. Uh, just give me a minute. I need to make my colleague co-host. Yeah, done. All right. So also to in terms of innovation, so in terms of operational strength, you would have an operational strength in a way that um, uh, you would have an exceptional founders maybe within your team. You can share about them. We ask you to provide us with financial reports if you have been through an audit, you can share your audit reports. If you haven't been through an audit or you do not require to do an external audit, that's even fair. You can just share your unaudited financial statements so the evaluators may assess your overall visibility. So that's always been helpful to assess your operational strength. In terms of innovation, like I said, that it would be you would be doing some level of innovation within your organization. It's not that you would be reinventing a wheel, but you would be uh, you actually would be employing new skills maybe, or you would have new technologies within your overall business that would innovate you the way that you are working right now. Business sustainability beyond grant implementation also has core. So this is one of the area where all of the donors, all of the development partners, even investors would look into it, that when the grant portion is being plucked out of the system, h- how would you survive? So this is also one of the important element. I hope my screen is shared. I just wanted to double check that. Yes, it's back. Okay. So we have also provided up to 5 score to the firms owned and run by women and youth. We give special, I would say, encouragement to the ones. So in terms of youth, you need to be in the age equals or below to 29 years. In terms of women-led businesses, the women should be the at the helm of affairs. So what we expect of a genuine women-led business is that they would be taking all financial decisions. They would be representing their businesses in the pitch sessions as well. So you need to provide some sort of evidence around it as well, in a way that if you are an NTN, so that it means that if you're a sole proprietor, a woman-led business, it means that you're 100% women-led business. If you are on SECP partnership, maybe, or if you have a board members, then we will look for a higher stakes within that board member. You need to provide some sort of evidence around it. And then there would be some applications, some organizations which would encourage women, youth, and other vulnerable groups, differently abled people as well, within the organizational structures that they have. So we ask you to provide us with a simple kind of organogram that would help evaluator assess these as well. So it's an overall 100 points evaluation criteria that that is the basis of evaluation of each and every grant application. Some ineligible expenses, that includes construction, working capital. If if you want to construct something, you can probably do on your own side of the budget, but we would suggest you not to include it within the IPF fund side of the budget. Working capital is also ineligible. Any sort of ceremonies, parties, celebrations, those are also considered as ineligible expenses. Some restricted costs that includes purchase of livestock and agricultural commodities such as seeds and motorized equipment vehicles as well. So those needs to be brought to the grantee contribution. But if you have a requirement of a machine, maybe that helps you achieve investor conditions, you can surely get that. Any sorts of covered telecommunication or video surveillance equipment such as drones or CCTV cameras are should not be included in the budget. Alcoholic beverages, the Pakistani law में भी ममनू है. Purchase of goods and services from Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and Syria is not allowed because US is not having bilateral ties with them, and also creation of endowments or any cost that would have a realization beyond the grant period. For instance, if you want to do some IP rights and there would be a 2 or 3 years of gazetted time. So these are the kind of costs that should not be included in the grant budget. I've shared most of the items already within this slide. It would be a cost reimbursement. So you would be paying for the milestones yourself, and we would be reimbursing the cost after verification of the performance-based deliverables that we have mutually agreed. And like I mentioned earlier, we make the first milestone as such that it would be heavy on administrative responsibility maybe, but would be less capital intensive so that your cash flow is also being maintained. So we also do environmental soundness check. So you don't have to worry a lot at this stage on it. When you are in the when you pass through the due diligences, you would see that our environmentalist will be working along with you to provide you with some guidance about if there is a negative impact on the environment, how can you mitigate that? In terms of certifications, these are a few certifications which are included as part of the grant award. Uh, I'll move forward. For other instructions, I think we have already covered most of it. It's one important element is that we would be doing branding and marketing plan as part of the overall uh, grant award process with you during your negotiation phases as well. So if there is an equipment or if there's a new technology that you have developed through the grants program, there would be marking of a USAID logo because from there you have been supported to, or if you're doing some sort of co-branding that needs to be have a prior approval. So we develop a branding and marketing plan, which is an annexure of your grant agreement if you're successful in getting the award. Now I jump towards the Annex A. So Annex A is your grant application form. In Annex, let me just zoom it a bit. So this is completely editable. So you can edit your grant application as per the need, but make it sure that you do not delete any important section that would have significance on the evaluation merit review criteria. We have provided instructions uh, in the from the first page, uh, but I'm skipping it right now. So we have provided instructions for each and every question that we want you to follow. Uh, and even if you have queries about any section, even after this presentation, you can send us an email on ipffund@pakistanipa.com, and then we'll provide you more guidance around it. In terms of the overall size of the grant application, this is one of the questions being asked very frequently. So what we suggest is ideally your grant application should not exceed more than 8 or 10 pages, minus the 3 and 4 pages of the instructions that we have already provided. It helps with the attention span of evaluators. So we need to provide very crisp and to the point information within the grant application form. It starts with an executive summary. If I would be filling a grant application, I would skip the executive summary first, and uh, and I will concentrate to the other sections. And then in the end, I would write an executive summary that would cover all of the sections that I have already mentioned or included within the grant application form. So we have provided a hypothetical example and illustrative, it's completely illustrative structure of an executive summary that what should it ideally include. You can provide a better one for your organization, but at least it should cover these areas. So what we look for is to have a brief introduction about the company, your achievements, what were your previous international investments if you have already done some investment closures, what is your current deal stage, and also provide your projections that you would secure this amount of FDI within this amount of time, and you would be securing some new series maybe in the next coming years. What is the value of private sector investment that you are also mobilizing? So this is an overall, uh, this is the first impression of your grant application in the eyes of evaluators. So we ask you to have a very uh, thorough and very precise at the same time and crisp ready for the overall executive summary. We have seen that after the AI chatbot bots, the quality of the application have been increased in terms of the uh, drafting maybe, but you need to make sure that you humanize if you are using some sort of chatbots maybe to improve the writing because you need to make sure that it is factually correct, the information that you are including in your grant application. It starts with your organizational identification questions. In the first section, you provide about your organization or your business name, your legal status of the applicant organization, if you're registered or not, your year of inception and your year of incorporation. You have seen that we have not put a condition on the age of organization. Uh, that is because they ask us stuff about the FDI. We had a startup in Karachi, I still remember. He said that he is in ideation stage and he has got two angel investors who have expressed interest into investing into their company. So age of the organization doesn't really matter for the FDI grants as long as you are in a strong deal stage and getting investment ready. So in terms of the type of registration, that includes NTN, it may include SACP as well. Target audience includes, so the target sector, sorry, that includes IT, ICT, agriculture technology processing. If you are in manufacturing sector, it would be really helpful if you could just share which specific subsector you are in. So for instance, if you are doing some textile related work, you can mention textile or any other sector that you belong to. Also the tourism and hospitality. So these are the four sectors. But if you think that you do not belong to any of these priority sector, but you are still very much aligned with the FDI grants, you are welcome to apply and share about your specific sector so that we could have the specific sector specific evaluators um, to review your grant applications. If you have previously uh, received any sort of donor or government funding or assistance, we ask you to provide us with identification details around it as well. Then questions 6, 7, and 8 are determination sort of questions. If you consider yourself in FDI deal stage, that means that an investor has already expressed their interest in investing into your company. So we need to be mindful of international remittance and versus investment. So at times people would confuse this as an remittance. So you might have a sales contract with your clients abroad that would provide you with, they would ask for the work that you are providing it to them, and you would get a remittance from abroad. But for investments, we mean real investment. So investment includes that the investor should be part of your profit and losses. It should become a part of your overall decision making as well, of your business maybe. So a real time investment needs to happen that we want to catalyze through these grants. So if you have raised FDI in past, and you also need to provide some evidence around it, and also if you will be able to share any sort of supporting documents of your deal stage, investment deal stage. It could be as simple as a WhatsApp chat or a correspondence with your investors. It could be as formal as an exchange of email or a letter of intent or a term sheet maybe. Total funds requested from IPA. So you need to refer to the ceilings that I had provided. So there are three ceilings: 50,000 US dollar, up to 70,000 US dollar, and up to 100,000 US dollar based on the investment raises projections that you have. And the funds that you propose as your contributions, there is no minimum or maximum into it. But the more is better. Uh, so in terms of anticipated amount of the FDI, what would be the raise amount that you are looking for? That would be completed your timeline as well. So ideally, your overall investors conditions needs to be completed in the term of 6 to 8 months. We also ask you to provide your reliable and key information, key contacts information of your founders or co-founders, your office address. Even if you don't have office, you work remotely, but you have an existing business that is operational, that's completely fine. If you have social media handles, our evaluators uh, do have a look at that, because it gives them some sort of information or reliability in a way that uh, what are what actually is your following in your business, how engagements are being happening. It all adds to the business. So if you have a website, you can share your website address over here as well. We request you to provide us with at least three references, and these three professional references could include any past donor that you have worked with. Maybe it could be your co-founder that who can vouch for you for your performance. It could be your investor. So we actually had one of the awarded grants who had included their deal stage investors into the reference track, and it actually strategically turned out to be a very good thing for the company as well, because we reached out to them and we got engaged with them as well. So any sort of good professional references who can speak good about your company? There are instances where your professional references would alert us as well. That is also uh, a part of the package. So in terms of the next section, so this technical question, each of this section is carrying mark and is directly impacting the evaluation criteria that we have. So you would recall economic growth had 75 score. So you need to provide your crisp introduction about your company, uh, be precise, be to the point, uh, uh, and about your proposed activities as well. So in your proposed activities, these activities, if there are more than one activities, you can write them as such that it would have a logical order of the investor conditions that you are following or you are achieving through the grants program. It's always wise to break down your activities into sub-activities if you think that would clarify, if you think that would be more convincing in the eyes of evaluators. Section C is all about FDI, so you need to share about your FDI potential, about your deal stage over here. So why is that company, why is that investor interested into your business? What is your competitiveness? You can share about those. What would you be achieving of that investment? And the total funds that you propose as FDI, also from the country of origin that you are looking for in terms of getting the FDI, and would you allow us to reach out to those investors? So we had a success story in one of the grantees based out of Karachi. When we reached out to their lead investor, uh, it had positively impacted the size of the investment that one of the investors had committed to them, and they were able to complete their Series A pretty quickly. So this is the investor's confidence that get usually enhanced when you are partnered with USAID or working with any other good development partner. So we also ask you to provide us with some sort of, uh, I would say, sense around the deal maturity from 1 to 10, 10 being highest, and also provide us. You would notice that we have included some subjective and some objective questions around the deal stage timelines because it's not very easy to estimate the time. So it's always best to engage with your deal stage investor that you are also that you are also planning to apply for a USAID FDI grant, how soon they think they will be able to close the deal if you meet their expectations that you are completing through the grants and partly from your own equity as well. If you are engaged with them on one-on-one meetings, are these virtual meetings happening? If you have a potential agreement with an FDI investor, if there's an LOI, an email correspondence, or any other means of correspondence that you are having with your international investment, some information about it would be useful. What kind of FDI it would be? Would it be an equity? Would it be a debt financing, convertible note, or debt, or any other type of FDI that you are raising? In terms of the utilization of that FDI, where would that FDI would be domiciled in? So although State Bank of Pakistan has allowed Pakistani companies to establish a mirror company, a holdco company elsewhere in order to raise investments, you can always do that. Um, People would also at times include that in the budget of the grant application if it actually fulfills one of the investor's condition. But you need to provide us with this information that would the funds would be domiciled in Pakistan and would be utilized in Pakistan, domiciled elsewhere, and utilized in Pakistan, or the funds would be used for international growth. So your potential timelines are also important because we are in the final years of the project, and we also want to achieve FDI with a closure um, that should happen within the implementation period. If you have raised any previous FDI, we encourage you to share about that and also include any previous executed term sheet if you might have. If you have got an holdco, just click the checkbox to yes. It does not have any positive or negative impact on the evaluation criteria. Your potential for raising private sector investment, so that again includes your own equity or a third party financiers who are supporting with you in order to complete the overall investor's condition. In terms of budget, you need to be very cautious about the completeness, about how reasonable are the costs are. So you need to provide some information around it. In terms of innovation and sustainability, like I've just mentioned, when the funds are plugged out of the system, how would you sustain? How would you sustain the staff? How would you sustain the expectation from the marketing that you are doing, maybe? We have these questions for women, youth, and other vulnerable groups. If you consider yourself as a youth-led business, you need to provide your CNIC copy. If you consider yourself as a women-managed company, you need to provide some sort of documentary evidence that could substantiate the fact. In terms of proposed capacity, there could be a need for any equipment or technology which could be included. Market and competition is extremely important because it helps evaluator know your competitive landscape. What is your competitive edge? You need to discover your competitor if you haven't done yet. We have seen that applications with more supported by a data would have more passing scores, higher passing scores, or higher scores than others. So a good research around it would help you in order to improve the outlook of your grant application in terms of your marketing outreach. And you also need to be cautious of a fact that if you are providing an overall size of your market, let's suppose if it's a women-led business working um, in cosmetics industry, and they share that they would have a multi-billion industry worldwide, which it could be, but they missed to share about their company's specific market, that what's their share in the region that they are implementing. So you need to be very careful about the marketing, about the overall market assessment as well. For expected results, we ask you to provide us with the number of FDI, the value of FDI, and also your revenue. So post implementation, after 8 months of implementation, what would be the projected quarterly revenue for the next 2 years? So it actually tells about how good the ROI would be that an investment is happening into your company, and also provide some rationale around it. We expect you to complete this implementation plan as good as you can, so that you you have got a very good planning at the stage of your grant application. You break down your activities into sub-activities, you mark a month, you put some milestones, and these milestones would help you develop your milestones for your grant budget. If at this stage you find it difficult for completing or for designing your grants milestone, that's okay. Even if, but what we ask you to complete the detailed budget as much as you can, provide the cost notes for each budget line in that Excel sheet that we have shared it with you already. So these milestones would then help you uh, develop those milestones. If you are selected for the next rounds, our team will actually help you out to finalize, to fine tune the milestones and what could be the potential deliverables that you can achieve, and we could verify and reimburse you the cost. If you have any other information, you can include that, or you can always share that through a link maybe. And there is a checklist in the end. You need to make sure what were the mandatory checkboxes that you need to take care of. So we get a lot of good applications at time, but some of those would be incomplete because people would wait till the very end deadline of the project, and they may probably miss to attach one or more of the documents that we have requested you to attach. There's a declaration in the end. You just need to complete it and then submit it through the online link, uh, through the online email address, sorry, not link. So it's ipffund@pakistanipa.com. So the submission would include filled Annex A, Annex B, which is grant budget. I'm just quickly sharing it with you now. So you would see that we have got a budget instructions in our first tab. In the second tab, this is the detailed budget. It has classification of USAID IPF fund and your PSI, that is applicant or a third party. We have provided some illustrative uh, budget heads over here, but this is completely editable.
If you can please share your screen.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I think I hope this is working now. So I was projecting the budget. So you would see that we have provided illustrative line items along with we have also provided cost notes. So you need to follow the instructions, but uh, it's completely editable. It's completely illustrative. You need to make it fit for your purpose that you want to achieve from the IPF fund grants. It's we also have a tab for milestones. So when you complete your milestone table, your overall implementation plan within your grant application, that would help you achieve these kind of milestones. But if at this stage you are finding it very difficult to design your milestones, but we would ask you to emphasize more on the detailed budget, give a good breakdown of the costs of all of the activities if there are more than one activities. The milestones could be one or maximum till five, uh, and those all would be performance-based deliverables that we mutually agree. So we are back to our presentation. So there are these three annexures that needs to be completed. Annex C is the self-assessment form that needs to be completed as much as you can. We do not require any sort of supporting document at this stage. It does not have any sort of bearing on the evaluation criteria as well. So it comes handy when we are doing your due diligence. It gives us some insight about uh, how good is your organization in terms of your operational capabilities. We we had a fantastic participation in all of the sessions that we have completed so far. We have just one last session left in Peshawar that will be happening on November 20th. And now is the time that we are open for question and answer session. I could see that we have a lot
Thank you
of
very much, Usman, for the
chats. Yeah.
presentation. I have responded to most of the questions that were written in the chat box. But there are few that needs to be taken care of. Dr. Zishan is asking, can the investor be based in Pakistan? For the rest of the audience, I would request you can raise your hand or else you can write your question in the chat box and we'll take questions one by one. Thank you.
So the investor needs to be a foreign investment. So FDI means foreign direct investment. Any sort of local investment would be considered as PSI, not an FDI. Next question, please.
Ishad, I have responded to your question regarding the
Okay.
WhatsApp community. We do not have any such WhatsApp community. The only way to communicate with our team is to send us an email. We would be sharing the recordings at the end of this session or maybe on Monday. So you will get a recording link to download this session. Shahbaz is asking, kindly confirm if foreign investment should be remitted to Pakistan.
The foreign investment, could you repeat that, please?
Kindly confirm if foreign investment should be remitted to Pakistan.
Yes, so the FDI needs to happen for Pakistan.
Baby Store has a question. Can these facility be used in combination with another government grant that is already being in implementation phase?
Yes, sure, as long as there is a clear causal relationship that through this FDI grants and the other assistance or grants program that they might have received would help them achieve the FDI. And there is no duplication of efforts of funds.
Syed Salek is asking, is there any minimum amount of investment that is required to be raised?
500,000 at least.
Dr. Mansoor is asking, where can we get the video of this session? So we will send you a link later on, Dr. Mansoor. Abdullah is asking about the goal of USAID in giving these grants.
So the goal is to, because we have pledged that we will be mobilizing 25 million worth of local investment to achieve 75 million worth of FDI. So your individual achievements through the closure of your investment would be attributed towards those results. So this is the overall goal of USAID IPA and USAID as well.
Naman is asking, can crowdfunding will be considered as FDI as it is incorporated in my business model?
So the current investment, if you have already received it, so it would add to the operational strength. It may get you the points that we have included for the previous FDI, but the new investment needs to be completed within the span of 6 to 8 months of the completion.
Even I have already responded to your question, so if you can please look back to the answer provided earlier. Tahir is asking, I have a question related to entrepreneurship. Tahir, if you can please elaborate your question so that we can answer that. Danish wants to know, do grants from foreign acceleration program count as FDI?
If that acceleration would get them FDI, closer to FDI, so any sort of activity, so that could raise investment for the company, that could be considered.
Zakir is asking, how many startups will you be funding this year?
So depending upon the quality and quantum of grant applications that we are doing, it could be from 5 till 15 maybe.
We would be sharing the recording of this session later after the session is completed. Eamon, I have already responded back to you on your reimbursement question and the model because it's mentioned in the RFA. You can have a look on the RFA and get details out of it. Fatma is asking if we are already working with foreign partners, can we still apply for FDI to improve our processes and operations?
Yes, sure, you can, if it would also get you closer to additional funding. So there could be startups who are doing a series round of, let's suppose, 2 million or 3 million. That would have that, and actually that would include more than one investors because that's a series round. So you can always take benefit of this IPA fund grant to help you close additional deals that you are looking for.
Shehbaz wants to know, okay, what if the milestone is not met at the end or is it partially met?
So it is on the shoulders of evaluators. They would evaluate your deal stage and the activities and also the sector experts as well. Generally, if anything that is beyond anyone's control, we may give some extra time, but we make it sure that the ones who are selected are able to complete their deal stage. If somebody cannot, if complete the milestones, then there could be a possible cut into the budget as well.
Farooq Awan is asking, we have an upcoming investment and tech transfer agreement with a Chinese company. Will it be qualified as an investment?
So the overall a decision about the deal stage, from which country it is, how near you are in the deal stage. So that rests on the shoulder of investment analysts. So yes, you are eligible, but I cannot comment on the later successes of it.
Abdullah wants to know that FDI already raised with conditions of follow-on investment can be counted as FDI potential.
Yeah,
Bilal
positive.
needs to know we will be sharing all these documents. Bilal, you just need to send an email at ipafund@pakistanIPA.com and you will receive a package of all of these documents that were shown in the presentation today. Sayyid Hussain has a question. If we have less than 500,000 investment from a private investor, but it fulfills our requirement by 50%, can we apply?
So if you would see, that's a very good question, I would say. So if you have a look at the eligibility, even in the RFA, eligibility is that you need to be an SME size company or a startup, and you need to be legally registered. But the preference around the FDI, I would again say preference around FDI is starts from a projections of 0.5 million, 500,000 up to 1 million to qualify for a 50,000 worth of grant amount equivalent of Pakistani rupees. But since the overall competition will be a pool based, so for instance, if in this round we get the highest of the grant applications who is getting the FDI, maybe the highest value is 1 million. So we may consider these applications who would be even below 500,000 threshold. But if the higher amount are higher than 3 or 5 million, then there would be less chances. So it's no harm in applying.
Fiza wants to know that email correspondence done this month to raise FDI with individuals in the US will qualify as FDI.
It will.
Farzana has a question. If FDI is associated or to facilitation of another upcoming development project, is it eligible? Farzana, your question is quite not very clear. If you can please rephrase your
Yes.
question and ask us again.
Yeah.
Abdullah wants
Thank
to
you.
know, is ESI the investment or capital used to implement the grant milestone or investment in the company by local investors?
So FDI should be coming from international investments. Local investors can help you to qualify those investors' condition whenever an investor would like to have a decision to invest into your company. They would also want you to invest. So that's your portion of risk. If you have other local investors who are contributing to fulfill those risks alongside with the FDI grant, you're most welcome.
Zahir has a question. What if we are a pre-revenue company without a runway, but with a ready-to-launch product? Is there a possibility to secure funding where we don't need to pay anything upfront and can rely entirely on US-based funding?
So we had one of the participants in Karachi, as I've shared earlier as well. They were in ideation phase, but I think their product would be too fantastic in a way that they had secured in at least 2 angel investors from some part of the world. I think from US, if I hardly remember. So it depends. So in technology, at times you would be in pre-revenue stages, and you would have an appetite to raise millions, and investors would have an interest to invest into your company. So you would have noticed that we haven't kept age or the revenue thresholds as to any of the evaluation or criteria that could negatively impact in it. So because if you have got a deal stage prospects in a way that even they are willing to invest in a pre-revenue company, so you are still eligible to apply.
Waleed Mustafa, he would be sharing the link of this recording later on. So please wait for that. Bilal Shahid wants to ask, as evidence of previous FDI do proceed realization certificate applicable from individuals, not firms?
Yeah, it's a very good question as well. So yes, you need to provide some sort of certification. So in the last round, I guess I still remember we had received a lot of good applications. Some of them were extremely promising, but the problem was that the individual investors or the overseas Pakistanis who were investing into their business, the applicant failed to provide profiles about the investor. So the evaluator sitting somewhere in Pakistan, if he is not aware, if that angel investor who does not have a publicly popular, renowned profile, maybe who is not a recognized VC, and San Francisco-based VC or an angel investor, then it would be hard for evaluator to find if it's a legit deal or not. So you need to provide with some sort of profile. If I were you, I would also include a small profile about that angel investor, an overseas Pakistani maybe, or a foreign national, who would like to invest into my company as an investor, and share about some details around him that could substantiate the fact that you are in a very good deal stage.
Shehbaz wants to know that foreign investment should be against equity or debt.
It could be both, it could be debt or equity.
IP Grads and Bushra Akhtar, I have shared the email address, so you can get it from there. Fazana wants to know how important in social media presence of a woman-led company, even if it's working and having proof of working and completion of projects.
As long as you have a business that involves a lot of customer engagement on the social media, that would help. If you don't have any sort of social media presence maybe, but you are doing very good clientele, you are good, very good business, maybe you would be cash positive. But essentially that might not require you to have to be on the social media. So be it. So that actually does not have any negative marking on your grant scoring.
Rahman has provided us his email address. Rahman, I would request कि आपको email करनी होगी हमारी email address पे to get an auto response of all of the documents. So I would appreciate कि अगर आप kindly एक email drop कर दें IPF-funded-Pakistan IPA.com. I'm also sending the email again in the chat box so that everybody can get hold of it. The next question is from Umair. Is there any matching grant needed for company already exporting agriculture products?
No.
Sayyid Salik का सवाल है, are there any other grants, MEDA challenge funds being offered by USAID at this moment or in the near future?
I think there are other USAID funded programs who do provide grants. If you have a look at the USAID social media pages on Facebook, especially, they do advertise about the new grants program that they have. We also keep on reposting on those on our social media.
Noman wants to ask what is the demand of USAID from the company in exchange of grant, profit or equity?
So it's a grants program. That's the beauty of it, that you don't have to compromise your valuation. In fact, perhaps you can increase your valuation without costing your equity. So USA does not gets a board seat into your business. We do not get any sort of profit or loss sharing kind of status. So it's a grants program. No strings attached. There is no payback on it, but you need to comply with the conditions of the RFA and the expectations around it.
There's a next question that are startups eligible to apply who haven't
Yeah.
received any FDI yet?
So
Zishan?
they need to have some sort of deal stage. It's some investment deal stage. We have seen that if we have a look at the deal flow, we would see a lot of tech emerging startup. That's why we have this time around given a lot of emphasis on the AI related or on health tech, on all of the techs who are working within the ICT, because what we have seen recently that these tech startups have been able to successfully close international investments.
Tahir के question है, Tahir, I would strongly recommend कि if you can please go back to the RFA, क्योंकि आपके जो questions हैं वो हम address कर चुके हैं. We won't be doing repetitive questions, so please refer back to the RFA document और आपके तमाम questions के answer वहाँ पर मौजूद हैं. Zishan का question है, does it count if your company is being accepted in an accelerator?
It would add a good confidence, I would say. So maybe if a company is being selected for YC, let's suppose, or for any of the good accelerators, that could strengthen their claim about the possibility and probability of the deal stage. But if a company doesn't have an accelerator kind of connection, they still can apply. So it works both ways, as long as you actually share good information, credible information that could substantiate that you are actually in an investment deal stage.
इन्हीं का दूसरा सवाल है, is there the grant amount dispersed over time as we start or complete each milestone?
So there are no advance payments. So हम इसके 2 से 5 performance based milestones बना लेते हैं, and you work around those milestones. We agree on the deliverables of those milestones. When you achieve them, we reimburse the cost of those milestones. So it could be a one-off payment if you can overcome the conditions through one of a grant payment. It could be more than one as well.
If we are at the MVP stage, we only have financials against spend. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
उमेर का सवाल है, FDI is only to expand business and export from Pakistan or other concepts? Please elaborate.
So FDI is investment into your company that could scale you, because any investment would scale you from one position to another. So it's not that we want to achieve both US-Pakistan trade and investment into the same grants program. I'd explained about trade. We do have a trade objective, but that is being catered to other grants program that we have. But in FDI, we just are looking for investment. There could be some companies who are working as a trade partner with an international client, and they want to invest in kind into machines, into their premises, so that the volume of the orders are increased. That is also considered as FDI. So there is no limitation around it. Any sort of uh, development, any sort of expansion, any sort of specific activity, if you need some sort of advisories, investment advisory services, all of these activities which would have a clear causal relationship with the foreign investors, those are eligible.
Danish, yes, you can mention your board members or advisors of the organization as reference. That's acceptable. Fatma, we will be sending back the link with the video shortly, maybe by Monday or Tuesday, and you will get an email regarding the link for this recording. Abdullah is asking, can the grant be used for upgrading facility for manufacturing?
Yes.
Fiza wants to know that if we are looking to build a franchise brick and mortar model of our online business, we can apply. Is it important that the business already has one franchise brick and mortar implemented?
As long as this is a condition set by a foreign investor who wants you to expand your business to a franchise model, you can surely do that.
As per the deadline to apply is for 8th of December. Numan wants to know that what is the eligibility criteria for the investor profile?
There is no eligibility criteria around it. As long as you do provide information that is true and credible, and that would help the evaluators know about the person maybe. So for instance, the person would have invested into some other venture, some real estate maybe, or he is working in such a such company, or he is based out of of this country where he is residing and investing into other countries, some sort of profile about, or any sort of publicly uh, uh, declared their information around their social media handles maybe, or their LinkedIn pages, any such information that could help evaluators know about the investors would be helpful. So there is no eligibility criteria as such around it.
Tanish wants to know that if a hotel is funded by both foreign and local investors, can they apply for their further
Yes,
expansion?
yes, they surely can. So we still remember, as I've shared when we were in Gilgit, there was a person who had a foreign overseas Pakistani invested into their hotel. So that is considered as international investment.
Wajahat wants to know that will a second FDI from an existing foreign shareholder account for this round of IPA?
Could you come again, please?
Will a second FDI from an existing foreign shareholder accounted for this round of IPA?
Yeah. So it would not only be considered, it would also give you extra points, some additional points on the previous FDI raised.
Abdullah wants to know how many application marks needed to be accepted for grant.
So it could be more than one. You can do multiple applications if you have got a business or a group that would have multiple businesses. Some of them would be in a deal stage. You can apply and for all of the ventures that you have, but at the time of award, only one grant would be awarded, be that from one group. So you can also do a joint venture setting. If you are doing through a consortium or a joint venture, you need to provide us with a teaming agreement.
Zahid, I'll be responding to your question that we won't be able to expand for such networkings. As for, we will be sharing an email with the link after the session is completed. Farooq wants to know, you mentioned investment advisory services as qualified expense. Does it apply to US-based investment advisor assisting on sell side, investment side?
I didn't get your question right. So can you come again?
You mentioned investment advisory services as qualified expense. Does it apply
Yes.
to US-based investment advisors?
Yeah, it does.
Naveen wants to know that do we have time to apply for the project? Yes, it's open till 8th of December. Asfar is saying if we have an FDI into our holdco in Singapore, will that be accepted?
Yes. Because holdcos are being permitted by the State Bank of Pakistan. Even some investor would have asked to establish a new holdco in a country of their preference, and there is a cost around it. You can include that cost as part of the budget.
With this, we are done with all of the question and answers. So
All right.
there are two more.
Okay.
JC's Foods want to ask, is the company eligible for additional funding if have already received seed funding from another donor?
Yes. So one thing that I just wanted to clarify over here that a business might have received some grant funding from any other donor, let's suppose UNICEF or from IUM maybe, or from Karandas, from any other donors as well. So those kind of, I would say, achievements would be considered as PSI, but not FDI.
With this, we are okay with the question and answer session. Thank you very much, everyone, for your
Thank you
time.
all. Yeah.
Even if you have your questions afterwards or while filling the application, you may get back to us through the email address that I have already provided, and we will get back to you with all of your questions by then.
Thank you so much. Thank you once again for the time that you have taken out of your busy Friday. And we really appreciate it, and we all look forward to have really good quality applications. So as they say, when there's a good presentation, question comes the other day. If you still have got more questions after this session, uh, like Vijay said, just feel free to reach us out on IPA fund at pakistanipa.com. All right. Thank you.